Good morning. I will go home. I'll go home. I can go and sleep. I'll feel better. Good morning. How are you today? Okay, I'm going to start with just a couple of administrative issues that I like to share with you, especially about your presentations tomorrow. And also, I would like to discuss with you possible change to the schedule today, which I think you'll appreciate, but if you don't, you tell me, and we will see what will work for you. You know that tomorrow you have your presentation on the theories, and I really appreciate looking around, seeing the different groups are getting serious about it and discussing and talking about how we're going to do it and so on. And we felt that we needed to make sure you have some guidelines. Shirley was sending an email to everybody with those guidelines, so I hope you already received it, or you'll be receiving it shortly today. But I want to discuss those guidelines on how you prepare your presentation for tomorrow. In addition to that, we also feel that you need time to prepare your presentation. Yes, right? Yeah. You say, good, good. So we are on the same page. So here's how we're going to arrange today. We will do the regular lecture or presentation until 10 o'clock like we always do. And then after this, I have a video of an actual conflict happening between two people and somebody trying to help them. So I think it will draw on a lot of the things that we've been talking about, and also show you an additional model of how you would teach and do learning in peace and conflict, in addition to just lecturing and so on. The video is about 20 minutes, and I'll explain it when we get to it. And you will watch it. It has English subtitles. And after you watch it, we'll have some discussion about it until about 10:45. So in other words, we'll skip the break, okay, and go until 10:45, and then you are free to go. Wow. Now, meaning what? Meaning that we hope that you're going to use this extra hour for your group presentation, so you can sit together and take this extra hour instead of going back to the seminar again. Everyone is happy with that? Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay, good. So we will do it this way. So 10:45, hopefully, should I repeat it? It's okay? Repeat, okay. So we will have the regular lecture until 10. Today, yeah, like we do always. But then at 10 o'clock, you will not take a break. You will not leave the room to go for a break. No, you'll stay here, and we will watch a video. I think you'll find it very interesting. And then after we see it, we'll discuss it by reflecting on what we've been discussing for the last 4 days. I think it will make all the sense and will bring a lot of elements together. And we'll finish the discussion hopefully by 10:45. And then that's it. Then you go, if you like to sit with your presentation group, that you'll do the presentation tomorrow and take advantage of this extra hour, that would be great. Or you'd like to go home early and read more, do that. You want to eat more lunch, do that. I mean, so it's up to you what you do for this extra hour. We just want to give you space to focus on your presentation more. Okay? All right. Claro? All right, good. Pura vida. All right, good. And actually on this note, when I come in the morning, I say good morning, right? And then you say good morning. But how about, I did this in my seminar yesterday. How about if all of us in one time, all of us on the count of 3, will say good morning in our own language. All at the same time, loud, all right? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Sabah al-khair. All right, very good. Whatever that meant. Okay. So now let me give you some guidelines on preparing your presentation for tomorrow. So each group of you has a theory. You know which one it is. Are you guys listening? Okay. So you all have your theory. You know what it is. You already started reading, talking to your colleagues. What we want you to do in your presentation will be to, number one, I want you to actually try not to limit yourself to the one reading we gave you. To the extent possible, please go beyond that. And there is a lot of information on the internet. The library has good resources, and so you can find more information. But I think with only one reading may not do service to you. It may be useful to just expand. And of course, you can organize yourself as 4 people or 3. that one will read in certain area, another area, and so on. Second, we want you to be creative, artistic, animated in your presentation as much as possible. As much as you can. If you find there is room, you can do things in a creative way. A short skit, not a very long role play, but something skit that shows some of the concepts and then reflect back on it. Showing a clip of a video for 2-3 minutes that will highlight some of the points. Drawing, like I draw India. I mean, if you know how to do that, I mean, draw something that will actually help to explain things. So whatever method that you feel will help to relate the points you want to make in a more interesting, interactive way, please do that. And then also, we want all the students in the group to participate. We don't want just one person on stage and everyone else is just standing here waiting for this to finish. Please organize yourself in a way that each one will play some role. And we will see that everyone participated. And then, of course, all the meetings are happening outside of the classroom. So it is not like, although except today we're making an exception by giving you this hour to work. Each presentation will last for about 10 minutes plus 5 minutes of discussion. Now, what you'll focus on? We want you to educate the audience. Don't forget that other students did not read your theory. So they are counting on you to explain to them your theory. So what we want you to do in your presentation, to focus on what are the main elements of your theory. There are definitely specific elements and specific focus of your theory. So you need to highlight that. And then how it applies and informs our understanding of specific situations. I mean, is it intended to explain like certain dimensions of conflict or certain situations as they happen? Or is it so universal that it applies across any type of conflict and peace issue in the world? And then also how it relates to the wider field of peace and conflict studies. How is it? Does it help us at all? And how is that? And then when possible, we want you to offer critique of the theory in terms of any limitations it may have. So think critically. I mean, not just because it's called a theory and it's a popular one and it's been written in books, it doesn't mean it must be good, perfect, everything is right. Each of those theories have been criticized by others, and criticized doesn't mean, oh, it is bad and terrible. It was wrong. No, it's not about that. It's about, I can see the advantage of how it can help me in certain directions, but I also can see that where it has some shortcomings, or where there are like blind spots, that it does not see all the whole story. So it is great if you can have this critical thinking as you are talking about your theory as well. Okay, so this is what we want you to do in terms of the presentations. And this is being sent to all of you, so you have it in front of you as you're working with your group. Okay? Claro? Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, good. Now, I want to go back to our discussion from yesterday. And before we get our guys to come back and continue the conflict that happened yesterday, which we will do shortly, but I feel like I still need to do some explanation, especially on the Pakistan-Bangladesh issue, and relate it back here to some of those dimensions and see how they work. We agreed yesterday that the primary parties probably in the case of Bangladesh, Pakistan were the Bengali people and the people in West Pakistan who are forming what was called Pakistan, East and West Pakistan at that time. There are secondary parties that always existed. Number one, India. India is right. Oh, where is India? Okay. It's in the middle between them, had already had a lot of conflict with Pakistan. They fought each other in wars in 1965 and probably in other times since independence. There is a lot of tension based on religion, based on politics, and so on. So India has a lot of interest in what is happening to Pakistan because it is the main enemy that is so close geographically to them. And it is actually in a peculiar situation where you have Pakistan on your right and on your left. It's not just in one place. So I can see how India itself is always feeling or observing carefully what is happening in a place like Pakistan. In addition to that, you have the Cold War. During the time, you had the Soviet Union and the United States fighting each other everywhere, not directly, interestingly, but they knew how to use others to do the fighting on their behalf so that they can have more control of more parts of the world under the notion of communism or capitalism and democracy. And that too was part of this whole dynamic. The US and the Soviet Union had an interest in what is happening here as part of their competition all over the world. So with all this context, if you ask yourself what were the positions of Pakistan, the West Pakistan and the Bengali people, we said that yesterday. We said that one wanted independence, the other one wanted unity. And what interests they were achieving, we discussed somewhat of that. Independence will ensure for me that I have the right to determine what I want. I will have representation in politics. I have access to economic resources. Good interests that you achieve by having independence. Because from a Bengali perspective, the union failed to achieve those interests for us. So why should we stay in it? If anything, the union violated our basic needs of justice, of equality, and violated our identity. That's from the Bengali perspective. So you can see now the rational side, the 3-2-1 as far as the Bengali are concerned. For the Pakistanis, the position is we want the union to remain. Why? Because the union ensures security for us against our big enemy, India. If we divide, we will be weaker, and we will be more vulnerable to India and to other powers in the region. So we need to stay in the union. Our basic need of identity based on Islam is being threatened by the claim that the Bengalis want to separate, because you don't want the Islam to be weaker. So there is an identity issue for them that is at stake, plus the basic need of security is being threatened as well. So you can see that if you look at it objectively, I can see how each side is worried about and feel that they have the right for the union or the right for the independence based on their claims. And for the Pakistanis, West Pakistan, they also feel that, no, don't tell me that India is just a secondary party on the side. They suspected that India actually was instigating this whole thing, and that they were playing on the Bengali sentiments in order to get them to split. So that's how they they felt that the Bengalis were traitors. They were violating and being traitors to the union and to Islam. And you can imagine if I start to have this religious contextual factor making me think that my opponent is not just having a different point of view against me, but no, this opponent is a traitor. And traitor of what? Not only the nation, traitor of my religion, Islam. And then I feel that I am entitled to actually go and fight as hard as I can to restore the unity of Islam and to make sure that that enemy who is a traitor will be punished. I mean, think about it from this perspective. If you understand it this way, that you can understand, not agree, of course, and not to condone, but you can understand why the Pakistani army went crazy in Bangladesh, killing people right and left. Because they were convinced that we are fighting traitors, people who are trying to hurt Islam. And that was the main message that they gave to their soldiers as they walk into villages killing people and women and raping all the stuff, that those were all people so dangerous to Islam, and we are doing the right thing by fighting for Islam. So the behavior here reflected this. For the Bengali, of course, I can understand that they understand, it's we have been oppressed, injustice against us, and all the wrong things happening to us, and our identity is violated, and we are tired of being the second class, because the bond that supposedly connected us, which was Islam, was actually very fragile. It proved to be fragile. It proved to give us nothing. I mean, if you tell me, oh, we are good brothers and sisters in Islam, so we're going to have a great country together, and I say, yes, okay, sure, great. And Islam means that we're going to be equal. And then when I come actually to live with you, I find that you are treating me like a second class, and you still want me to hold on to my Islam with you, because supposedly we should hold on based on our religion, then I would say, no, forget it. That's what happened with the Bengalis. They felt that that bond based on Islam failed them, because the Pakistanis misused it from their perspective. Instead, the Pakistanis played out more the ethnic, racial dimension of the relationship, which created a pattern of abuse and subjugation of the Bengalis in favor of their sense of superiority based on race, based on language, proximity to the Arab world, and all this. So the pattern actually was influenced more by the racial superiority and ethnic superiority, while the bond was supposed to be based on Islam. The bond failed to do that, and based on Islam, and instead the power dynamics based on the ethnicity and race influenced a pattern of subjugation of the Bengalis, which led them to start to think that no, we cannot live with you anymore. The bond is broken. And if the bond is broken, why should we stay in this? And hence they got into, of course, developing an attitude of one of them feeling I am being treated unjustly, I have to liberate myself and assert my identity, and the other one saying you are a traitor, and they know we want to stay within Islam, and both of them got into the ugly fight. In addition to all this, now, and I want to get to the point that was made earlier 2 days ago about how do you balance things when one powerful side is not doesn't want to be part of the solution. And I'm going to explain it here and explain it later in another example. Actually, back to the example of the husband and wife were doing. In the case of the Bengalis, they knew very well that they have no power to stand up to the Pakistani army. The Pakistani army had all the power and they're slaughtering right and left. The Bengalis have just some militias, and those militias are unable to actually secure their own people. So they figured out that, and the Pakistanis, nothing will stop them. The US is behind them, even though officially the Congress stopped sending arms to Pakistan because of all the violations. But behind closed doors, they were still sending them arms. In one of the books written by an American diplomat, he said that after the Congress of the US decided not to send arms anymore to Pakistan because of all the violations of international humanitarian law and all the massacre that happened, the Pakistanis still needed some kind of more advanced airplanes to go and fight in that battle in Bangladesh. So not being able to get the Congress to approve this, because now they banned it, guess what the government of the US did at that time? They went to Jordan, another small country in the Middle East. Jordan needed some new airplanes compared to what they used to have before. So the US administration at that time told the Jordanians, go ahead and give your older airplanes to Pakistan, and we will give you new ones. And that's written by an American diplomat, and anyone wants the source, I'm happy to give you. It just shows you the international politics, not only for the US, for everybody, is ugly. And it has a whole different dimension in how it works. So, but again, not only the US, and it's not fair to just think that only the US will do that. The Soviets, the Egyptians, everyone acts based on very strong notion of self-interest and the power dynamics, and that's what drives everything. So anyway, it ended up that if I'm the Bengalis, I can see the Pakistanis keep getting arms. And they keep slaughtering us, despite of the embargo and that the restrictions on them getting weapons from the US. What do I need to do? I need to balance the power. And I cannot balance it given my own actual resources. So to balance the power, I need to see, is there anyone else has vested interest in the conflict and has enough power to come on my side? If I can get that other party who is secondary at this moment, not intervening, and get them to realize that it's in their interest to come and help me, then I may be able to balance that situation. And that's what they did. They went to India. India was already, by the way, suffering from what's happening in Bangladesh, because they had like a huge influx of refugees. Like 3-4 million had to cross and be right there in India. So India was feeling that the trouble. Also, India realizing all the atrocities committed by the Pakistani armies. India is interested in breaking that union of Pakistan as well. So if I were the Indian government, I felt from a humanitarian perspective, I should intervene. From my self-interest as a nation state, I should intervene. And therefore, actually, they agreed to actually send their army into Bangladesh, and they were able to get the Pakistani army to surrender. Here, it's an example, just again, back to the point we made 2 days ago, that if you feel that you are in a situation, you don't have enough power, the other one has all the power, and they don't care, you try to get them to reason with you, to talk, and they are not, then start to do this analysis and say, who else, what else can I use from this analysis that will give me more power that I can balance against the other. And that's what Bangladesh did in this situation. So, so I just want to make sure that we cover and explain how all those factors played a role. Here's an interesting also factor in the Pakistan-Bangladesh situation, which is geography. That typically geography works in a way that makes things worse. Meaning what? Like if you think of what happened between the Hutus and the Tutsis in Burundi and Rwanda. Burundi, Rwanda, Congo are all countries in Central Africa, and all of them are actually influenced more by ethnic dimensions, not necessarily the national ones. The national boundaries were made by the colonialists, but the reality of people is based on their ethnic affiliation. So the ethnic lines don't align always with the national borders. As a result, because they are so close to each other, and all of them are part of the Hutu, Tutsi, and of course on others, whenever there is an issue that happens in one place, one country, between Hutus and Tutsis, it quickly spreads into the other parts. That's what happened in 1994. The violence started in Burundi and spread like fire into next door Rwanda. Geography here worked against peace. It made the conflict become more violent very quickly. But interestingly, in the case of Pakistan and Bangladesh, because India, huge continent, is in the middle between them, when the Pakistani army entered, the Indian army entered and forced the Pakistani army to surrender, and then the army, I don't know how they managed it, but I have to draw the map again, I'm sorry. Where is that? So if Bangladesh is here and Pakistan is here, and imagine that the army here surrendered, okay? And now it has to move all the way up here, whether this way or by road, based on some arrangement. But the distance between the two countries, the geographical distance between the two countries, made the de-escalation of this conflict to happen so fast. Once that army surrendered and moved here, it didn't have the capability to continue to fight and bomb this place because of the distance. I always argue that if Pakistan and Bangladesh actually shared borders, like we were thinking yesterday, if they were next door to each other, I bet you they would be still fighting each other until today. But the geographical distance helped them to immediately de-escalate the conflict, and now they have actually normal relationships. Of course, still what's in the heart has not changed. I just met this Bengali guy a few weeks ago, and he told me I would never speak to Pakistani. And I was shocked because my wife and her family has so many Pakistani friends. They don't have any issue with the people. But he said, no way. I don't speak to a Pakistani. I will not buy a Pakistani product. I don't go to a Pakistani restaurant. Oh my God. So I can see that still there is a strong sentiment there. So when you think again of the contextual factors, how they influence issues, it is important to appreciate not even the geography can play a role, the history, the others, and see where it does affect things, and ultimately, can it be used for peaceful intervention? And how is this to happen? And who is the right person to intervene? Because not everyone can be the right one to intervene in a conflict. Assessing who is credible, who has the power, the resources to intervene as a third party to help you in a conflict, or to be a secondary party on your side, you got to assess this also based on all those dimensions. When you do your presentation following week or using this model, I do have a chart that will help you to go step by step to follow the structure so that be more organized as you do your analysis of different cases. Okay, any questions on Pakistan, Bangladesh before I go to where is Lizzie? Yeah, okay. And Felipe? All right, you came back, good, both of you. All right. Okay, so we will go back to your case, but any questions on Pakistan, Bangladesh? Any clarification on what I said so far? Okay. All right, so yesterday, yes, sir.
Yesterday you were explaining that you started analyzing counterclockwise.
Yes, 4, 3, 2, 1.
4, 3, 2, 1, and from 1.
And then after that, after you finish 4, 3, 2, 1, so you can really understand what is the issue for people, what are the interests, what are the positions, and what are the basic needs or values or identity sources are violated, and how much contextual factors influencing any of these. Once you finish with this rational explanation, then you move back to number 5 and 6, which is the attitudes and feelings and that leading to certain behavior. And you can say that to the extent that people are stuck in their positions and unable to get out to reason into number 2, which is interests, then the more they are hardened, if the power dynamics and contextual factors are making things worse, such as old history of hatred, negative stereotypes based on, like we explained yesterday, this will lead to what? It will lead to stronger negative feelings and stronger fear as an individual, as a group, or as a group. And with that sense of fear and anger and frustration and righteousness, and if you have the right powers, and you will strike against the other to try to achieve what you want, the behavior. Whatever method that will make you achieve it. And that will result in what? The other probably would start to resort to the same kind. And you get into what we call conflict escalation. Conflict escalation is when the situation between 5 and 6 becomes like a spiral. Negative feelings and attitudes resulting into violent behavior reciprocated by the other, which reinforces the negative attitudes and feelings, which make you want to get stronger in how you hit the other person. So to hit harder, you go get stronger weapons and inflict more harm, get more parties to be on your side so that you can fight harder, and the other side is doing the same. You start to expand into different issues, so it's no longer only about the particular issue you started on, but now there are more issues because that gives you more legitimacy to bring the past, like the wife did yesterday, but you always did this to me, you never did that. And so it brings, that gives you more legitimacy, and the more you're getting legitimacy to yourself, and anger, and feeling right, and have the power, you keep striking. And we get into the vicious cycle. That's what we call conflict escalation. What we try to do ultimately in conflict is what? Is to de-escalate the conflict, de-escalate the violence, and try to get people to start to reason back to 3, 2, 1, without the strong negative emotions and the violent behavior. So you try to get people to move away from 5 and 6 into 3, 2, 1, so that they can reason with each other. And that's what you try to do in intervention, using whatever assessment you have that can help you to determine what will be the right intervention. And we'll see how this will play out in the case of Lizzie and Felipe and their family. Okay, so yesterday we ended with Lizzie went to her, and then of course I want to again emphasize the gender dimension in what we said yesterday. Can you come here, Felipe and Lizzie, now? Okay. And you're at your father's house, all right? And maybe the father, come on, Howard, all right? Yeah. And the brother, where are you? Still has the hangover, right? All right. Come here now. It's standing next to him. Man, be with your family here. Okay. Also to recap, we understand now she had a certain position, she wants the car, and she explained very eloquently yesterday her interests that she will achieve, the interest that she can achieve by getting the car, and why she needs it, and why it is very good, not only for her, but for the whole family. And we know that, actually, if you think what are the sources of conflict, we know that there are basic needs violated. I mean, all, including for the very basic needs of just good sustenance. You need to sustain yourself as a good human being. And in addition, she is also insulted in her dignity and the way he behaved towards her. From his side, he also is feeling, of course, a sense of entitlement for this. He also feels that he wants to fix the house. That's what he wants, right? And if you ask him, why do you want to fix the house? Why do you want to fix the house? Take a microphone and tell me. And it's think interest, like what will the fixing the house do for you?
Self-interest, just for me.
Yeah. What will fixing the house do for you? Why it's so important?
I'll get a better chance to get
better chance to win the election. How is it? I mean, how come fixing the house will give you a better chance? Because it will do what?
It will give you status.
It will give you better status. It will stop the negative media against you. And so you can say that in terms of basic needs, you want to preserve your sense of dignity and honor as well. I mean that your image and your sense of honor is important for you, and it is being violated by the way your house looks, and those guys are making fun of you in your campaign. And it is directly threatening now your self-actualization as a human being, that you want to win this, and you feel like you deserve to win. And it's not fair that just because the house looks bad that you lose an election like this. You have all those supporters. You have all those people who want you to win. And they're willing to put their resources to help you. So it'd be really embarrassing and hurtful to you as a human being to feel that you lost only because you could not paint your house or fix it. Oh, I can see your point. As much as I can see her point as well. Right? However, the gender dimension here got into which way? He comes from this kind of, I'm the macho, I'm the one making more money, it's my money after all, and I am the one to say how to spend the money. And when she is not listening to this, he again falls back into his own gender patriarchal superiority, which tells him that if you get into a situation that there is disagreement, then you are the one to dictate what happens. So he acts upon that. And he says, well, you don't like it, just go to your father's house. Of course, that becomes a big insult to her, violating her basic need of dignity, and she says, fine, I'm not, and also she feels that she's been betrayed. He's been promising her from the beginning, I'll take care of you, I'll be good for you, blah, 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 blah. But now he actually almost confirmed your brother's negative stereotype about him. So you go to your father's house, and then your father, of course, sympathetic with you, loves you, and he realizes that you forgot your medicine. Now, he wouldn't be the one to go deal with this guy under such circumstances. So he gets the son to go at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning to go bring the medicine. Right? Okay. So this is where we are, right? Okay. So. Okay. So, and I really appreciated yesterday also how you played out the bond thing. That you showed that when he was like, oh, I am tired and all this, I hear that today there's a little chattering, a lot of talk. Can I talk now? Okay. So you showed how the bond played a big factor and the expectation of a father toward the son in a certain cultural context. That you, when he said, I'm tired, why should I go, and I don't like that guy, you said, you go and that's it. It was an order. I'm not saying that that's good. I'm just saying there are cultures that operate like this. And that because of your bond, your connection to your other family member, there is an expectation that the son or the daughter will listen to the parents. And they have to obey them, and they think that it's the right thing to do. It's not like every culture like this. Somebody came to me brilliantly and said, what about individual differences? Yes, there are individual differences even within a culture. It's not like everyone in the culture will have to do that. But generally, he has an expectation. I told you to do this, and now you're going to do it because it's a big emergency for the family. Your sister is at risk because of her health. Right? So now, I just want you to do something. Your name again was what? Ken, yeah. Ken, right? Ken, yeah, thank you. He said for everybody, saves time and everything, right? Okay, so, all right. So Ken, so you're going to listen to your father. But I just want you now to, you remember you objected to him marrying you, right? And they didn't listen to you, right? So so before you go to get the medicine, you need to give them a lecture about how they did not listen to you, and that from now on they need to listen to you.
I know this is not a time for discussion or lecture, but remember I told you when you got married with that man, I don't know, it's just too much ambition. But I don't really understand why he want to be a politician. And now you just, stuck in the problem of money, and you don't have a transportation now, and you just want to repair the house, which I think it's very stupid. But yeah. So I told you.
I'm still crying, and save a lecture for later, and just please get back my medicine. That's what matters right now.
All right, good. So now you decide that, okay, you have to go anyway because of your family bond and the commitment that comes from, again, cultural expectations. You cannot something you, right? From your perspective. And you know, he never been to your house. He doesn't like you, and you don't like him either. Okay? So now, and he's attacking you like this. So now you want to push him out. Say, get, and you don't want him to do this. So go ahead and push him. Be careful, okay? So yeah, let's get out here. Yeah.
Come on, get out of here. I don't want to see you around.
So you're going to now start to hit. Give me the microphone. And now you get into actually start to hit each other without, hit with your hand too. With your hand, yeah. All right. As this is happening, the noise becomes so loud, right? And you put your arms up there like that, you're fighting, and both of you, and also put like you're boxing, yeah, okay? And then, all right. Imagine with this noise, the neighbors started to take notice, right? So a neighbor wakes up and comes in. This is the neighbor. All right. So you can wake up, a lot of noise, and you see in the corridor, those guys are punching each other like this. Go ahead, punch each other. Yeah, but to get this right, I want you to stand where you are, and you stand where you are, and you come here. And you just raise your hand up as if you are hitting each other. And freeze like that. Freeze exactly like that. You, the neighbor, you came in, right? And you see that those guys are hitting each other like this. Show me what will be your first inclination for what you will do here. Show me.
Hey guys.
Okay, freeze. Freeze just like that. Exactly. What he did here, I'm going to now stay like that while I distribute this form for them. Take half of this, put the other half there. Okay. What we're going to get into now is number 7, intervention. Of course, we're going to elaborate more on intervention in session. No, where do you think you're going? Okay. Yeah. It is. Okay. We will talk more about intervention on Monday, the 9th of September. So, but now I just want to give you an overview of what are the different models of intervention and how they work. Now, what you have here is two parties. Turn around, Ken. All right. Give Ken a paper. I think Ken just wants okay. Can I have, if it's circulating, give me a couple of them, please. And also, did you get? Okay. Thanks. Oh, I need 3. Sorry. Okay. All right. Now, what happens in many conflicts that the tendency is that there is this violence, right, that's taking place. The violence is, put your hand up like you were fighting each other, all right? And you put your hand separating them like this, okay? In conflicts, typically, there is some form of violence that will take place, whether it is physical violence, like what we see here. It can be verbal violence. It can be emotional violence. It's not all about the fist or the bomb. It can be, of course, verbal, emotional, and also structural. Structural violence means what? It means that the society, the culture, have certain rules, unwritten, that are making certain groups in a disadvantage. Somebody, because of their class, social class, because of their religion, because of sexual orientation, because of gender, are not able to get to the same place where other people are. And generation after generation, they keep reinforcing it, and it becomes an oppression to people. This is a form of violence. To wake up every day knowing that I will never achieve what I deserve, that's why you are studying relative deprivation and anomie as 2 theories, so that you can understand some of those issues and how they happen. But for now, we'll focus on the physical violence especially. When conflict has this form of physical violence, then the immediate thing you want to do as an intervener is to reduce the violence. As I mentioned that you want to stop 5 and 6, the negative emotions and feelings leading to violent behavior. We want to de-escalate this. So when there is violence, the first thing you want to do is to try to stop or reduce the violence. We refer to this in this field as peacekeeping. So the expression peacekeeping, even though it is more from the international field, we know in peacekeeping as UN peacekeeping forces, when there are two countries fighting or ethnic group is being fought by the government, and then the peacekeeping forces by the UN, they will go and try to get in the middle to stop the two groups from continuing to fight each other, or to reduce the chances that they keep attacking each other, so that you can start to open a space for dialogue and negotiations and so on. Also on the personal level, what Menvir did here is exactly that. He saw those two people fighting each other. Go ahead, back again, put them in that mode, yeah? And he came, and I didn't tell him what to do. I just said that, do what you want. And what did he do immediately? You just put your arm like that. Yeah, now I asked you, Menvir, why did you put your hand up like that? Yeah, and give me this, so I'll give it to you, okay. Put your hand up. So what is the objective of putting your hand like that?
To curtail violence?
Yes, to stop, curtail violence. Yeah, to stop the violence or reduce the chance, because with the way you separated them like this, now his arm, if he tries to hit, will not reach.
Yes.
Correct? And the same for him. Because your presence with your arm stretched like that is achieving that objective of making sure that they don't continue to hit each other. That is a form of peacekeeping, by reducing the tendency towards the violence or ensuring that they don't continue to fight. That same example, I mean, imagine Menvir can be a peacekeeping force between two armies fighting each other. And they develop an empty space between them, and then the peacekeeping forces will go in the middle, and they will ensure that they don't have the ability to reach each other or fight each other. And he would do some monitoring system to make sure that we monitor who is violating, and if anyone violates the ceasefire, we will impose sanctions on them. All this is examples of what we call peacekeeping. Of course, peacekeeping has developed over the years. I'll talk more about it on Monday the 9th. But I just want you to know that this is one approach of intervening in conflict. The objective here is not to resolve the conflict. The objective is to stop the violence. And that's a very legitimate approach. And sometimes this is the most important thing to do, and that's what you're doing. Right now, you are just making sure to stop the violence. And you have an interest in it. You're a neighbor. Your children need to sleep so they can wake up and go to work at school in the morning. And the whole noise and that affects the whole neighborhood. So you are actually interested in making sure there is peace in your building. So in addition to that, of course, to see two people fighting, one of them is your neighbor, and you know the other one is his brother-in-law, and you feel like you got to do something to stop the violence. And that's what you did. Now, go ahead and put your hands up like that again. All right? Now, they still continue to try to hit. Still continue to try to hit. Look at that. The more, okay, look, again, immediately when they continue to hit, he actually, what did you do? You reach even farther, because to keep them as far as possible, to enforce that they cannot hit each other. Let's say that they finally calm it down, and they actually put their hand down. Keep your hand up. You keep your hand up. Yeah. And then after you kept it, just say, and they say something to have them stop. Yeah.
Just calm down, guys. Why is there a need for so much of violence here?
Good. Okay.
I just came here to get a medicine, and then this guy.
This jerk just came here to disrespect me, insulting me. I had to defend myself. I kicked him out, and he started punching me. I have to
This is
fight back.
excellent. Actually, I really not agree with what you said, but I like how you framed it, because that's what people say when they are getting attacked. He doesn't want to see that he had a reason to come here. He only focused on that jerk came here and attacked me and did this, and he has no business being here. So of course I had to defend myself. Everyone in a conflict has to develop this logic that I have a good reason why I got into this fight. And he said that I'm here want to get the medicine. Now, if you are now still in the middle between them, and they stopped, their hand is down, are you going to keep your hand up and try to keep them? What will you do there?
I'll just say both of you are adults. I'm sure you can sit and talk it out.
Okay, and then you go?
No.
Okay, what will you do then?
I'll ensure that that there is no more violence here.
Okay.
So I'll probably be there and I'll try to mediate between the two.
So go ahead, show me.
So guys, why is there so much of violence here? And as you guys know, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, right? There are neighbors around here. We need to sleep. We need to go out for work tomorrow morning.
This is excellent. Pause. I love that. He is actually getting them to realize their responsibility bigger than their immediate issue. You are responsible to take care of the peace of this neighborhood and not to make noise like this. There are children, there are families. That's an excellent way to get them to fall back on their moral responsibility to not become violent the way they are. And let's assume it worked. They calmed it down. Now, you're still angry with each other? So now what? You're going to say goodnight and go?
No.
Okay, keep going.
Let's just sit down and talk. Let's just.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
So go ahead.
You guys want to say?
I mean, I was really mad at that he has never showed up here, and I try to behave as an adult, but I see he just wants to respect me still. So I know my wife needs her medicine, but I still believe there was no reason for him to behave the way he did.
Very good. This is excellent. I mean, so you are again explaining why you had to resort to some type of force against him, and you feel like he had no business doing what he did. Okay. And why? So now we ask him why he did.
I know it's very weird to come over somebody's house after 4 a.m. in the morning, but my sister needed a medicine, and the medicine is here. And this is the guy who just purged her from the kicked her out from the house, and so I represent my family to pick up the medicine.
Excellent. So again, he set up now exactly what he wants. Now we move from peacekeeping because the violence stopped, right? We move to the next one. We move to peacemaking. Peacemaking is when you... Yes, you want to say something?
I was going to say, I think this could have gone differently if Manveer had stepped out and instead of separating the two, he restrained one of them. He might have thought that it would have been easier to keep the peace by just like restraining one of their arms. And maybe he knows the neighbor better than the brother-in-law because he already has that relationship. So maybe he restrains the brother-in-law instead of standing in the middle. And then when he tries to resolve the conflict, they already see him going to one side.
So that wouldn't be good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be... So here, that would be... if I understood correctly, can you tell me your name again?
Catherine?
Catherine. So what he suggested, Catherine, is it can happen this way, but if it happens the way you described, it may give an impression of bias.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And that will be... So that's one thing to consider as a third party, is how you make sure your actions are reflecting neutrality and the similar distance from both of them, so that neither one of them thinks that you are favoring one or the other. So far it seems like he's doing what we think is okay by keeping the same balance between the two. Good point, and we'll talk more about the specific details of intervention on the lines. But now I want to show how now you move from peacekeeping into peacemaking. By doing what? By now talking what is the issue between you, right? So, okay, so right now we understand the issue is the
They've already told us.
Yeah.
The issue, what is the issue, has already been stated. So, let's see here, guys. You love your wife. I know you got into a fight with her, but you love your wife, right?
I do.
Right? You love your sister. Yeah, you have to, right? Come on. So, even if she's a young one, right? So we have a common goal, wellness of your sister, health of your wife.
Right? I mean, you are doing such good work. I mean, really. I mean, what he did is actually, look at that. He built a common ground between them. On what? What is the common ground he built?
sister.
The love for the sister, right? That you love your sister, you love your wife. She's the same person. And so that love should motivate you to work together. Excellent approach in conflict resolution. Build a common ground for the people to realize that, as you said now, you have a common goal, the best interest of your sister. Okay, so.
Yes. So for right now, let's just stop all the fighting. Why don't you just get the medicine? Give it to me if you don't want to face him, right? I'll give him the medicine, and then he can go. And we can have.
Oh man, you're good. Let's give him his diploma now. I mean, let's go back to India with your diploma. You're done. Again, look what he did here also, is that he knew that the emotions are high. The tendency for them maybe to fall again into violence can happen. They hate each other. So if he gets them close to each other, if they walk with him inside and get the medicine, maybe they will beat each other inside. So he wanted to put himself and guarantee the peaceful process that will happen by doing what? That if you don't feel comfortable, give it to me, and I will be the one to give it to him. He's creating that distance to ensure that we don't fall into violence again. Wow, man, so good.
Yeah. So can we do that?
Yes.
Why don't you take the medicines and I'll give it to him?
I will. But first of all,
So we can have peace in the locality.
yeah, I just wanted to tell him that I didn't get her out. I told her if she wanted to leave, she could. So what's her decision?
Okay, I'll explain that.
Oh my God, another good thing. He knew this is a hot issue that he is not qualified to deal with, actually. And that's important, to know your limitation as a third party. What can I do and what can I cannot do? He's getting him into a whole other story. I didn't kick her out. She's the one I said if you want to leave, and she left. Now he's going to get to the bigger issue. He's not qualified to do it. He's just a neighbor who woke up disturbed. And all he wants is to restore peace in his neighborhood, in his building. So the other issue of why they fought initially and what happened between them is much bigger than him. Somebody else will have to deal with this issue. But for him, he just wants to do the specific issue of getting the medicine. That for him is the conflict resolution or the model of peacemaking that he's doing. But that's only for this issue. Okay, so he go get the medicine. And as a result, he said, okay, I'm not going to talk about this one because it's not mine. Here's the medicine.
There you go.
Here you go.
Well, good night.
Okay, so have a seat.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Let's give him a big hand for this. Okay, you can go back now. Okay, thank you, Philippe. Yeah, for now. All right, you guys sit down for now, and I'll call you if I need you later. Thank you so much. Thank you. So peacemaking, as you see here, is that you try to, he mediated between them. He did some form of mediation. He's trying to work between the two to understand what is the issue, why is it important, how can we make sure that we deliver and everyone is happy without creating more trouble. That's kind of a form of mediation. Peacemaking, and which is part of what we say conflict resolution, is really about investigating what are the interests of people in a conflict and then try to find a way to satisfy it in a peaceful manner. Again, I will reserve the larger discussion to the 9th of September. So what is peace building then? Peace building will be, but actually before I get to peace building, I like just to draw some scenarios of how we're going to solve the bigger issue. Okay, the medicine came, and you got your medicine. You are fine. And now you are at home with your dad. You are feeling unhappy, uncomfortable, of course, you're not in your house, and all this. And he is also probably not happy with the situation. So it's uncomfortable to both of them. But each of them has their dignity that's not allowing them to go back and talk to each other. In addition, I can see how the husband here, given his gender understanding of things, is probably convinced that I am the man, I am not going to apologize, and if she wants anything, she comes back, and I have this arrogance, and I have all the power. It's my money, I am in my house, so I'm comfortable. Why should I rock the boat? I'm okay the way I am. So again, back to the story of what do you do when the powerful one is not willing to come and be part of a peace process? So here, if you think about it this way, and the father is concerned now. Father is concerned that this guy is not taking care of his, your daughter, and she is suffering, and he's sitting acting like he's having a good time and he doesn't care. And we need to do something to shake the situation, to get people to influence this guy. Now, if you think about our secondary party analysis, we said that who are secondary parties? We said the child was one, right? But who else is secondary party? Manvir was a neighbor, yeah, but think of the community.
Common friends.
Common friends and people who have interest in him winning, right? We said that he has a lot of people who he knows, and they are eager for him to win because they will benefit also from him being in power. Now, if you understand that, then you can think that, wait a minute, now this guy, he thinks that he got it all, that because I have the money and I have my house. But no, he actually, if we can get him to understand that he has also loss from this situation, and he may even lose more by keeping this situation happening, because Now he runs the risk that his reputation will be that he broke up with his wife and kicked her out. The last thing he wants is to add to the negative image. His whole problem, his basic need that was violated was image to start with, because of the house looks bad. Imagine if the media now catches up on this and says that, oh, not only that his house is broken, his family too is broken. He kicked his wife out. If that happens, so if you get somebody credible to him to tell him that, do you realize the damage that will happen to you if you keep insisting on this? You will be shooting yourself in the foot. Even if you use the $10,000 to fix your house now, then people will come around and say, okay, he fixes the house, but he didn't fix his relationship. He will make nice buildings, but will fire all the people working. I mean, yes, Catherine.
I think it also depends if it's an individual society or community-based.
Yes.
For two reasons. If she goes home to her house, maybe her family's like, problem solved, you live with us, we love you, come back, daughter. Or the family says, you haven't lived with us in 20 years, go use your own money and live by yourself, and that continues the conflict.
Good.
Also, the family would look at it, if it's an individual society, it's good, he's spending his money to advance his career and to make money. Or if it's a community-based society, they would see it as, oh no, he should be spending the money on his family and on you.
Very good. And as we agreed also that yes, even though we have those individual society, community-based society, but also the variations can be great across the board, and individual adaptations can be different as well. But definitely there can be a whole other way of playing this out depending on the cultural context. But we set it up already more traditional society and so on. So now, let's say that now, if I think how I want to resolve this problem, I would try to find secondary parties who have influence on the husband, who can actually, and credible, who will explain to him his losses by the current situation and the risk that the media will notice and will start to scandalize him about it. That will make him realize, oh my God, I am in more danger now, so I better fix the situation. That's how you get the powerful one to realize that, oh, I am not as comfortable as I thought. You help them through credible parties to understand how this is a complex situation, and you're going to lose more. If you can do that, in other words, you're entangling his interests with the interests of his wife, restoring her life back and being back in her normal situation. If that is the case, then you end up now going back to try to solve the specific issue of how to deal with the $10,000. And for here also, just for the sake of what time is it now? I'm going to ask you please to invest in a clock. This is 9:53. Okay. To fix this problem, I mean, here's one suggestion. I mean, it's not all the possibilities, but it's to think about, you are, for example, you are here today, okay? Elections are happening after 2 months, right? And right now you have $10,000. Claro? Elections here. Is he going to win or lose? We don't know. We don't know if he will win or lose. We know for sure that if he wins, then he will get in a very nice car. If he loses, then he doesn't have money for a car. But is this the only solution? Is either to wait for him to win or lose? Or can we be more creative? Based on the interests. Now, go ahead, Howard.
I think that he should get rid of the money for the car and explain to his constituents that he's one of the people. Just look at my house. I live like you. I'm not rich. I'm not throwing them.
Good. So one way of doing it is to frame issues that, yes, I am as simple as you are. My house is a reflection of the condition that we are in, that we all need to improve. You can reframe the whole story, and hopefully that will impact people positively. But let me give an additional possibility. I know there are many other possibilities. You have $10,000, you want to fix the car, but again, it's about how to fix the car at the lowest cost possible, and how to make her comfortable. When we asked the wife, why do you want the car? She said, save time, to be more comfortable, to take care of my family better. Okay, how about in the next 2 months, we'll make you go to work every day, and send your child to school using an Uber. All right? So you have a private car with a driver, and so you are way comfortable. How much the Uber will cost for the next 2 months? Let's say $1,000. Got it? So we still have what? 9,000. Okay. Now, for the husband, he wants to fix the house, but we cannot take the whole 9,000. And he doesn't have to. Because if you start to look at the analysis of this, you realize that actually, there are people who are interested in helping him because they have interest in him winning. And some of them are business people. Some of them they know how to fix a house, paint. Why don't you ask them to come and volunteer or offer their service for low cost? Or give some of the material for low cost. If they do that, then he can fix the house, and instead of using the whole 9,000, he will use another 1,000 for fixing the house. So that means that now we are down to $8,000. Over the 2 months, the house is fixed. She got her comfort, and she got a private car to take her back and forth. Elections come after 2 months. If he wins, hooray, he's going to go out to buy her a very new car. If he loses, the commitment that he has is the 8,000 will be used for a car for her. Because he already fixed the house. And now he can use the 8,000 to buy her a car. So in doing this, you are taking advantage of time, taking advantage of who else can help, and taking advantage of what are the interests rather than the positions. It's not all about, I must have a car now or nothing, or I must use the entire $10,000 to fix the house now or nothing. No, there are interests that we try to satisfy, and if we can find the resources to satisfy them through our analysis, then we can get everybody to achieve what they want, and we still ultimately will make sure that the woman will get what she wants. All that is resolving this immediate issue. We're still going to have to deal with the bigger issues of the conflict. Yes?
My worry with that is because politics is involved.
Yeah.
When he gets something cheaper or he gets something different, the thought of quid pro quo
Yeah.
comes in differently than if you're just building a community and the community comes together and helps your house and helps the neighbor's house.
Yes, yes.
And so on.
So it may be like a payoff, that's something that he was going to have to later do a favor for those who supported him. So maybe advise him that he has to be careful who he selects to help. Meaning, we said that he grew up in the community. He knows everybody since he was a child. So maybe he brings only the close friends that he grew up with, who trust him, and who have a relationship bond. A bond with him based on we love each other, we played soccer when we were kids together. Not that someone, a businessman, want to benefit from this situation now and will suck your blood when you become the council person. Absolutely good point. All goes back to how do you select third parties or even secondary parties who can become part of this situation. Fantastic. But still we are left with something. I don't want to miss this one. We solved this one problem. Okay, and let's say that, okay, based on this, the father came, sat with one of the good people in the community, and they sat and reconciled, brought the husband, apologized to her, and he took her back home. She's happy, and he won the elections, by the way. He won the election. Congratulations, Mr. Philippi. So now you're a councilman, and now you got a brand new car. A brand new car. Huh? But hold on to the comments until I just finish the scenario, because I want to get into the peace building. Peace building means what? Peace building means the long-term issues, not the immediate conflict you dealt with. Here we fixed this conflict. Can we say that now when she goes back home, everything will be fine and they will be happy and happy ever after? No. Why? Beautiful. Beautiful. Can you hear? I mean, she said that with our deeper issues, the history and the gender issues are deeper and they are not being dealt with. Marriage. Okay. Great. Not great. I mean, but yes, you are serious because you realize there are deeper issues. It's not about this one-time shot. It's not just about the car and the $10,000. There are issues of gender and power and justice and equality that are not addressed. And I'll come to in a minute. And so those have to be dealt with on a deeper level. And one way that you might want to do to deal with the deeper family issue or relationship issue is to do what? Talk and go to what? Who can help you? Psychologist, therapist, you maybe go to therapy and see how we can work on those issues. I believe he himself, as somebody stuck in his patriarchal ways of thinking, we need also to find who can help him to understand that you cannot continue to live with this kind of attitude against a woman or a wife. And that you need to understand that the notion of equality, and if you don't do this, good luck you having a good life, or even running your council members and around you with this attitude about women. This has to take a long, I'm going to hold all the questions. I know several hands came up. I promise you I'll address them. But I just want to finish the story so I can move on to something else. I just want to say that the peace building effort is about how you change things on the long term. Deal with the deep-rooted issues of conflicts that can keep bringing this back. Because you can imagine that actually in this conflict, if she goes back home, in a month or two, they will have a similar fight. And here's actually, I'll tell you what is the next fight, which becomes so the outcome of this conflict, okay, we resolved the issue of the car and the house and the $10,000. But there is a new outcome that emerged. The brother, 2 months after, he's getting married. And he has a big wedding. He does not want to invite who? The husband. So he tells his sister and his father, I want to have the wedding and we'll do the wedding, but this jerk doesn't come to my wedding. After you have already settled the situation with him and you got your car and you feel better, now we get into a new conflict with different type of parties and alignments and interests and positions based on the history of what happened between the two of them. And so does the cycle continue of conflicts. And the new conflict requires new analysis, who are the parties, the interests, the context, and so on. But I want to go back to the peace building quickly and say that peace building is about dealing with the core stuff. And dealing with the core deeper issues is a long-term effort. It doesn't happen in one-time shot. It's not like a solution in 1 day or 2 days. You have to be deliberate and keep working on it. And I'll give you one of my drastic examples. We have 2-3 French here. Who's the French? Who will le Français? None of them is here today? Oh, here's one. Okay. Okay. Do we have any Germans? No Germans. Okay. So let me go to the French. I'll play German. All right. Let's say that you are French, right? Okay. What's your name? Corinne. Okay, Corinne. So you are French, and let's say that we are in 1943. Okay, 1943. Second, yeah, in the middle of World War II. And you are French, and I am German. All right? And let's say that we got a fortune teller who saw the two of us, and the fortune teller looked at the two of us and said, you know what? I can see that after 50 years, you're going to have no borders between your two countries, and you're going to have the same currency, and you can go work in Germany, and he can come and work in France, and there's no visa required with the two of you, but each of you is still independent state. If somebody said that to you in 1943, what will you say?
That's impossible.
That's impossible. Yes, I mean, that's the case. It's impossible. But did it happen? It happened.
Yeah.
By accident?
No.
By peace building.
Yeah, peace building.
That is peace building. The fact that you are aware that there are deep issues. Thank you, Corinne. Très bien. Merci. To realize that there are deeper issues that require effort on the long term, so that I can deal with some of the what is causing the conflict, the sources of the conflict, the hatred in the conflict, and what are the economic, political, culture issues that are keeping this conflict brewing and boiling, and to work and create the mechanisms to deal with them. In the case of the man, then I need to work on his own gender notion and how he understands this, and how to develop better mechanism for dealing with a woman in such situation. In the case of Germany and France and other countries, imagine the effort of 50 years. That was a deliberate effort that started since the 1950s. And it was taken step by step all the way until they developed this model of European Union as we see it today. It's not perfect. Brexit is a big threat to it. But what an accomplishment that you saw those countries killing each other. The millions of people died in 2 world wars to the point that now they know how to coexist peacefully. Does this mean they have no problems? Yes, they do, but they know how to prevent it because they set up mechanisms for how to prevent conflicts or to deal with them effectively if they happen. Think of what happened with Greece. When Greece had all those financial problems and they were falling apart and unable to pay the debt to Germany and to other countries. I can bet you, if this had happened 100 years ago, Germany would have invaded Greece and would have made sure to take all the resources to pay the debt until they recover and so on. But now they have mechanisms for dealing with conflict, which takes into consideration the first point I made earlier. Conflicts are inevitable. They are aware of that. Conflicts will always happen. What you need to do is to have the proper mechanisms to prevent their negative consequences and to help people to know how to deal with them more effectively. Okay, I know several hands came up. Let's try to take them and see how we're going to deal with the video as well. Who had a point that's still boiling and you really want to talk about it? All gone. Wow, I eliminated all of them. Superman. Okay. You have one? Yes.
Thinking that even without invention, and two sides actually realize they can use the Uber and they can use the third party to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this happened between two of them, like which element, like which stage it is involved?
Okay, that will be in the intervention. Like when.
If it's without the third party, both of them. Like.
If they reach that conclusion on their own. I'll tell you what. It's maybe the literature will vary on the point I'm going to say to you. I believe that when parties of the conflict themselves start to resort to rational thinking and to try to work peacefully with each other, that is intervention too. Even if it's happening by the parties. I know the way you looked at me like, I don't like it. Yes, I know that the literature will say something like that also. Some people will say, no, intervention has to be by an outsider. But I also think that there is some literature that will say that if the parties start to negotiate based on interests and based on respecting each other, that is a form of intervention by the parties themselves. And I would suggest let's keep the intervention questions to Monday the 9th. I'll go more in details about it. But good point, very important. What else? Okay.
If I'm a husband, I have another idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I will talk to my wife that I respect all of your requirements and I really love you. But can we make it clear that what is more urgent, what is the priority? Because now the election is 2 months later, so I really need to win the election. So I know that you know me, so you will support my career. So I want you to support me and wait me just for 2 months and wait for the result of the election. Then if I win, I will buy a new car for you. And if I lose, I will take you and our kids to work every day and pick you up every day. And also, we have more time for each other because we are on the way for each other. So, yeah, and I want to express my love for you.
All right, so definitely, I like Catherine said, and you are now saying there are different ways of looking at the scenarios. I do it, by the way, if you are going to be in the field of training in peace and conflict and doing workshops or whatever, I hope you got something out of this example. Of course, you can adjust to modify the example to fit for the audience you have, but the important thing is everything you do is specifically designed to go back and reflect on something you are trying to explain. So it gives people a real experience in front of them to reflect on a concept. It's not a game. It's not we're just having fun and to see if Lizzie knows how to act or Felipe knows how to act. It's about going back and reflecting on this stuff. So yes, that can be another way of doing it. Final point, and move on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So first thing first, thank you very much because finally, after 5 years, I can understand the difference between peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peace building.
Oh my goodness! Well, that's a big statement.
I've been trying to look for the definitions, but they are talking about different, definitions, stuff like that.
And may I add that, and also seeing it in action can help a lot to understand.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see now. Very. What's your name?
Alvin from Indonesia.
Alvin, you got your diploma too. Okay.
All right, my question is like, as you said before, when we analyze a conflict using this framework, like we should go from parties first, and then position, interest, and sources.
The rational side.
But why do you put sources in the first place? So is there any intention? Like, is there any specific intention for that?
Okay, I'll tell you something about this. I myself would love anyone interested to think with me how to redesign this or to do it differently. Anyone interested, please, I'd love to do that. I am not stuck on the way it looks. It just evolved like this, but other people always suggested maybe there is a different way you can present it. So if you have ideas, I would love to discuss with you. And even after I leave here, email me and we can discuss by Skype. So any of you interested to see how we can make this model more friendly and how it shows, please do that. No, there is no point. But the source is only because, number one, because it's kind of like, again, rationally, you start with the source and then the interest, something like that. But I'm happy to explore, okay? Very good. All right, so now, did I miss anything? I guess I got all the pieces I needed for now. Now I want to show you this video that I think is going to highlight some interesting issues about peace and conflict. And it's about a conflict that happened, there was a TV program in Lebanon in 2004 actually, and it was about resolving problems between people. And actually the program itself was inspired by similar programs in Europe and in other places. And the program was called Open Your Heart. Open Your Heart. And in that program, what they do is, in the program, okay. I'm sorry, I really have this issue, maybe I am too much on it, that when I'm talking and then somebody's doing side talk on the side, it just distracts me to a point that I cannot stay focused. So my apology that I keep, like when I hear somebody talking, it just stops me. But the point is, in that program, the people who have a conflict with somebody or a problem with someone, they will call the program and say, I have this problem with someone, and I want to try to work it out. And if the program administration feels that, yes, this is suitable for TV showing, then they would call the other person and tell them that somebody called us and said that they want to talk to you about an issue in this program. Would you be willing to come to Lebanon from anywhere in the Arab world? And if they, of course, the immediate question will be, who contacted you? They say, we cannot tell you. You take your risk. You have to come, and then when you are in front of the audience, you will see who invited you, and we will make an effort to help you to resolve it. And if you don't want to talk, fine. If you want to resolve, we can try. And if you agree to do that, then they arrange to bring the two people to Lebanon. And then in the beginning of the program, the person who initiated the contact will tell their story. And then after they tell their story, they bring the other person, and they put a curtain between them in the studio. And the other person will sit on the other side of the curtain. And there is this guy, a very famous TV personality in the Arab world, who mediates, quote unquote, mediates between them. He tries to open a dialogue between them, facilitate a discussion, whatever you want to call it, from a technical perspective. And he tries to help them to solve the problem. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail. Sometimes even the person who is invited, once they see who invited them or asked them to come, they say, I'm not going to talk about it, and they just leave. It happened too. In the case you're going to see, actually they sat and talked. Here's the story. Those are two young Saudi men from Saudi Arabia. And they are about 25, 26 years old at that time. They have known each other for 2-3 years working together, and they became very good friends. They love each other and spend time a lot at work, outside of work. So naturally, because of their culture, one of them wanted to be nice to his friend, so invited him to dinner at his house to meet his family, his father, his uncle, cousins, brothers and sisters, whatever. So he came to the house, and they greeted him and welcomed him. Everything was fine. However, in the discussion, they discovered that the two of them belonged to two families that 40 years ago, one member of a family killed someone from the other family. And at that time, 40 years ago, they did resolve it by traditional dispute resolution methods, and they paid compensation, but the relationship stayed sour. The families don't talk to each other. They have no connection. Okay, but for them, as two young people, they like each other. They didn't even worry about it. And then the friend who was invited, now he wants to invite his friend to reciprocate. So he invited his friend to come to his house for dinner. And he told his family that this guy is coming for dinner, my friend, and by then they know that he is a member of that family that killed someone from their family. But they said, fine, I mean, your friend, let him come. So he goes for dinner as planned, and when he arrived, they welcome him, and then his friend said, I will just run quickly to the restaurant to pick up the food, and I will be right back. He goes to pick up the food, and when he goes to pick up the food, the father and the brothers and the cousins start to bring up the old issue of what happened in the 40 years ago and so on. The discussion becomes so heated, they start to insult the guy and actually start to beat him up. He had to run for his life. Then comes the friend with the food and say, where's my friend? They said, we kicked him out, that son of whatever, He said, what? What did you do to my friend? How can you do that? And he was so upset and tried to apologize to his friend, and he refused any apology. And he thought that you were part of the plot. You were part of the conspiracy to get me there and get me beaten up. And refused to have any reconciliation for a year and a half. So finally, the guy, when he saw that program on TV, decided to contact the program and to share his story. So he already shared the story. So you're going to see now from the moment when the other guy who is invited comes in and he sees who invited him. I want you to watch, not necessarily for the mediation process, as much as the different cultural issues, contextual factors, relationship issues, emotions and feelings, how people deal with the conflict. And so try to pick on some of the stuff that we have been talking about for the last 3 days. And then we'll have a discussion about it. And watch carefully because it's very interesting. Okay.